A 180-pound pit bull. 3 families returned him. 2 shelters rejected him. 1 city councilman demanded he be put down, by name, in an official letter. Then, a home security camera caught what he did at 3:17 a.m. in a little girl's bedroom, and nobody in that neighborhood has been the same since. A 180-pound pit bull that the entire neighborhood called a monster. A dog that 3 families returned, 2 shelters rejected, and 1 city councilman demanded be put down, by name, his name, in an official letter. And on a Tuesday night at exactly 3:17 a.m., a home security camera recorded something in a little girl's bedroom that nobody in that neighborhood has been able to explain since. This is that story. His name was Ranger. Red and white, 180 pounds of pure muscle and scar tissue, with 2 blue eyes that looked like they'd seen things no living creature should ever have to see. The kind of blue that doesn't belong on a pit bull, the kind that makes people stop mid-sentence and stare, then catch themselves staring and take 3 steps back anyway. Ranger had been in the system for 4 years. 4 years, not months, not weeks, 4 full years of cold concrete floors, fluorescent lights that never turned off, and the sound of 40 other dogs who were just as invisible as he was. He'd been adopted 3 times. The first family kept him for 6 days before calling him uncontrollable. The second lasted 11 days and said he was too intense. The third didn't even make it through the weekend. They dropped him at a kill shelter at 6:43 a.m. on a Saturday before the staff arrived, chained to the front gate with a note that said simply, "Too much. Too much." 2 shelters after that refused to take him. One wrote in their intake form, "Placement not recommended, temperament questionable, size poses liability risk." They never tested him. They looked at him through a car window and drove away. By the time Marcus and Deja Williams walked into Eastfield Animal Rescue on a rainy Thursday afternoon, Ranger had been in that particular kennel for 214 days. He didn't bark when they approached, didn't wag his tail, he just sat perfectly still and looked at Marcus with those impossible blue eyes, like he already knew exactly how this conversation was going to end. Marcus took a step back. Deja didn't. She pressed her palm flat against the kennel door and said nothing. Ranger stared at her hand for 11 seconds. Then he crossed the kennel in 2 steps and pressed his enormous head against her fingers that she had to brace herself against the door to stay upright. She said, "We're taking him." Marcus reminded her they had a 5-year-old daughter at home. Deja reminded Marcus they'd been talking about rescuing a dog for 2 years. The shelter coordinator reminded them both, in very careful language, that Ranger had a complex history and that their daughter should never, under any circumstances, be left alone with him. They signed the papers anyway. The neighborhood found out by Sunday. Mrs. Caldwell from 3 houses down knocked on their door and handed Deja a printed article about pit bull attack statistics. Mr. Okafor from next door stopped letting his kids ride bikes past their driveway. Someone, they never found out who, left a note under their windshield wiper that read, "Your dog will hurt your daughter. The blood will be on your hands." Deja folded that note and put it in a kitchen drawer. She didn't throw it away. She kept it there as a reminder, because what if they were right? The first week was controlled chaos. Ranger didn't destroy anything, didn't growl, didn't show teeth, but he also didn't sleep. He paced the downstairs hallway every single night from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the exact same pattern. Living room, kitchen, foot of the stairs, back to living room, like a soldier doing perimeter checks. Marcus watched him on the baby monitor 3 nights in a row, barely sleeping himself, waiting for something to go wrong. Nothing went wrong. What happened instead was this. On the 5th morning, their daughter Zara came downstairs before her parents were awake. She was 5 years old, wearing a dinosaur pajama top and 1 sock. She walked directly to where Ranger was lying in the living room, 180 pounds of muscle and trauma and history, sat down cross-legged 2 inches from his face, and said, "Good morning, you have very blue eyes." Ranger exhaled, long, slow shuddering, like something had been locked inside that chest for 4 years, and Zara's 5-year-old voice had just quietly turned the key. He placed his head in her lap. Marcus found them 7 minutes later. He stood in his own living room, unable to move, watching his daughter scratch the ears of the dog 3 families had thrown away, while Ranger's tail swept slow arcs across the hardwood floor, like a metronome counting down to something nobody had predicted. If you haven't subscribed yet, I need you to do it right now, not at the end. Right now, because what happened at 3:17 a.m. 6 weeks later, I need you to still be here for that. 6 weeks in, Ranger had become Zara's shadow. Everywhere she went, he followed. Not hypervigilant, not anxious, just present. If she moved to the kitchen, he moved to the kitchen. If she went upstairs, he positioned himself at the bottom of the stairs and waited. When she fell asleep each night, he walked the perimeter of the house one full time: living room, kitchen, back door, side window, front door, then lay down directly outside her bedroom door. Every single night. Marcus started calling it the rounds. He'd lie awake and listen to those 180 pounds of footsteps doing their slow circuit and find himself breathing easier because of it. Then came the Tuesday night that changed everything. 3:17 a.m. The home security camera in the upstairs hallway recorded Ranger leaving his post outside Zara's door and pushing it open with his nose. He entered the room. The camera captured him moving directly to the side of Zara's bed, pressing his nose against her neck, then pulling back, then pressing again, then releasing a single sharp bark that echoed through the entire house. Marcus was up in 4 seconds. He found Ranger standing over Zara in the dark, completely rigid, not moving, staring at her face. Zara's lips had a faint blue tinge. Her breathing was shallow and wrong. She was burning 104.7 degrees and had been silently declining for hours while everyone slept. The pediatric ER doctor said later that the fever had been dangerously close to the threshold where neurological damage becomes a real risk. She said that with another 2 hours, the outcome of that night becomes a very different conversation. 3 families said too much. 2 shelters said liability risk. 1 city councilman put his name on a letter, and a 180-pound pit bull with blue eyes and 4 years of rejection stood over a sick little girl in the dark and refused, absolutely refused, to let anyone sleep through what was happening to her. Deja went to the kitchen drawer when they got home from the hospital. She took out the note that said, "Blood will be on your hands." She read it one more time, then she folded it differently, smaller, and put it back. Not as a warning anymore, as a record of how wrong a neighborhood can be about a dog with blue eyes and a chain collar and a history that looked like nothing but failure. Today, Zara is 6, Ranger is 5. He still does his rounds every night. Living room, kitchen, back door, side window, front door, before lying down outside her door. He still places his head in her lap every single morning, like they made a deal in that living room 7 minutes after they first met, and neither of them has broken it since. The note is still in the drawer. Mrs. Caldwell stopped by last spring with a batch of cookies. She didn't mention the article she'd brought before. She sat on the porch and watched Zara and Ranger chase each other across the yard and said quietly, "He's beautiful. He always was." Some dogs don't get a second chance because they're dangerous. They don't get one because people decide the outside of a story is the whole story, because a number on a scale and a shape of a head and a breed on a document are easier to read than what's actually living behind those eyes. Ranger waited 214 days for someone to read what was actually there. Deja read it in 11 seconds through a kennel door. And on a Tuesday night at 3:17 a.m., every single person who wrote him off found out exactly what they missed. Marcus still thinks about those first nights, lying awake, listening to 180 pounds of footsteps moving through his house in the dark. He'll admit now, quietly, with the particular honesty that comes at the end of a long story, that he was terrified, not of Ranger specifically, of being wrong, of having made a decision that his daughter would pay for. That's a weight no parent ever puts down completely. But here's what he didn't expect. He didn't expect that the dog who terrified him would be the same dog who taught Zara that being gentle isn't the same as being weak, that you can be the biggest, most powerful thing in the room and still choose softness, still choose patience, still choose to press your head into someone's hand instead of pulling away from it. Zara learned that from Ranger before she learned it from anyone else. She's 6 now, and she already knows something that takes most people 40 years to figure out, that the ones the world calls too much usually are the ones with the most to give, that the label on the outside of a life is almost never the truth of what's living inside it. Ranger didn't get a second chance because he earned it. He got it because one woman pressed her palm against a kennel door and decided that 214 days of being invisible was enough. If you're thinking about adopting, please don't scroll past the ones with the longest histories and the heaviest files. Don't walk past the kennel because the dog inside doesn't wag immediately. Don't let a number on a document be the last word on what an animal is capable of becoming. Because somewhere right now, there's a dog with blue eyes doing perimeter checks in an empty shelter hallway, waiting, still waiting. And they deserve 11 seconds of someone actually looking. Is this love or is this instinct? And does it matter? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear yours.